like Pete Buttigieg in this case, right? So let's just play this video.
A crisis when it comes to roadway fatalities in America. We lose about 40,000 people every year. It's a level that's comparable to gun violence. And we see a lot of racial disparities. Black and brown Americans, tribal citizens, and rural residents much more likely to lose their lives, whether it's in a car or as a pedestrian being hit by a car. There are a lot of reasons related to discrimination, related to even the ways that roads are designed and built. Who has access to a safe street design that's got crosswalks and good lighting? Who doesn't have that access? That can drive disparities. And we have a responsibility to act on that. We've got a crisis.
Y'all. So first off, is he saying that minorities are worse drivers? Because that's what it sounds like he's saying. Because why would there be more disparities? Like this is part of the claim I don't get. Why would there be more disparities among minorities if you're not, essentially being, making a making a stereotype that and being racist about it? Like that just doesn't make sense. Like I can see, no, that would get me in trouble. No, I can see if you were talking about women. I mean, that's stereotypical idea that women are bad drivers. That is what I could see him talking about in this situation. But, I don't understand the part about minorities. Now, the part that infuriates me, probably worse than anything about this segment, is where he says that we have over 40,000 casualties a year, and it ranks up there with gun violence. It only ranks up there with gun violence if you're adding in the amount of people that die via suicide using a gun, which the left loves to do. They love to say 40,000 people were killed by guns last year. And then they point out, I forget what the stat, I think it's 60% of those are suicide. And so those deaths would probably still happen if they didn't have a gun. So call the segment The Daily Stupid. Yeah, that might be a good one. Robbie, I can't remember because you're in the chat, I believe. Are you the one that helped me name the show? Just for full transparency, y'all, I didn't name the show Transform to Freedom. I was looking for a name and I actually asked for it. A friend of mine came up and said, "Why don't you do Transform to Freedom?" I said, "That's a great idea. It's a double entendre, transform to freedom. It's great. I'm a freedom-loving transsexual, so that works." Would you say? Roswell says Buttigieg probably thinks most white people actually have driver's license, and that's a good. I don't. Is he just looking at raw statistics? I don't know. Actually, I responded to this, and actually, if you haven't seen my episode of Timcast, let me see if I can pull where I responded to him. There it is. All right. I just quote tweeted and said, yeah, I quote tweeted and said, "There is just too much dumb in this clip to even respond." So I'll just remind everybody what I said about Buttigieg on Timcast. So here's what I actually said.
I've got a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if the official reports are not true. Like, where's Joe Biden right now?
Well, they don't want to admit that, you know, a small town mayor that was only hired for one single reason, you know, isn't doing a good job.
Oh, the
Secretary of Transportation.
The Buttigieg.
Yeah.
So, and then there's, I've got a
So yes, the small town mayor who was only hired because he was gay, he had to get that diversity hire in, is not doing a good job. And that was in reference to the rails. Now, Buttigieg has told us before how roads are racist. And I think he was alluding to that in that interview as well, where you can look at the face of Al Sharpton, and I think that's Al Sharpton, and say, where it's just, what are you talking about, dude? Like, because he's talked about how roads are racist in the past and how, and I think he's alluding to like the exits, like they don't have the exits in the black neighborhoods or something like that. I don't get it, but it's not an accurate statement. Like, our road system, how are they racist? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that's the type of person that Buttigieg is. And then we see all the stuff happening. His whole, how he still has a job befuddles me. Okay. It makes absolutely no sense to me, because first, you know, our logistics systems break down and we have skyrocketing inflation because, you know, we can't even get milk across the country because our drivers are stuck at the port. So all of our imports, we can't even get into the port. Like in California, I remember I had that, had a video last year, which was, I had a video last year where he had like there was backups in the port, and so sorry. So there's backups in the port, and they couldn't get, you know, product and all that stuff into the U.S. Then we had the train derailments, and now we're talking about racist roads. So Buttigieg just hasn't done a very good job. But what do you expect from a small town mayor who's never done anything when it comes to transportation? And he gets hired as the Secretary of Transportation, a job that nobody really thought that you actually had to have qualifications to do. So yeah. But that is all I have for today. Let me see. Robbie says, studies have shown that we will soon run out of things to call racist. Yeah, and then those studies will be called racist. So, Mafia Guido says, I work in sales and have to deal with logistics all the time. That entire industry is beyond effed. Interesting. I don't know if the whole industry is. Actually, I don't know if y'all know this. I double majored in logistics management and marketing, and 10 years, my first 10 years in the workforce was working in logistics. So I know the industry very well, though 7.5 years of those, I was actually a logistics officer in the Army, which is a little bit different than actually moving supply here in the U.S., but I've had to deal with all those agencies like on the ground, stuff like that. And then I have like my hazmat certification from my last job, and where I was a warehouse manager. But yeah, now I've moved into doing marketing and writing and, you know, independent contracting and in this space. So I gain all of my money from y'all's support and doing whatever else I can. Trying to contract and do marketing stuff for everybody else, which is why I am appreciative of all of your viewerships and all of your support. It means a lot, helps me along. It helps me, continue my activism full time. So I appreciate all that.